bet you're wondering how I got here. Well, earlier this month, I set out to beat every single Pokemon game in 1 week. But that wasn't enough for me. Why am I setting like this? I already knew beating each game in 1 week was feasible, but I wasn't sure if you could beat each game while also doing a hardcore Nuzlocke. Seeing how I'm willing to commit to roughly 14 hours per day, the moment this timer reaches 100 hours is the moment we find out if hardcore Nuzlocking every Pokemon game in 1 week is even possible. I woke up tired. Duh, lol. By the way, don't worry, I got a haircut during editing. Started watching Uncle Roger and Ryan Trihan while still in bed. The uncles I wish I had.
It's weird. It's strange. I don't like it.
I gotta start.
He said aloud on his bed.
It's just playing Pokemon. It's literally my job. So why do you feel so much pressure?
I've even sped-run Gens 1 and 4 before. Earned the world record for the Charmander no glitch. Not official. But I also have to do the dishes, the lawn, and take care of my small puppy. Aww. But I gotta start eventually. Okay. Here we go. Starting out is Gen 1. Got a choice between Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Leaf Green, Pokemon Fire Red, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Pokemon Pikachu, Pokemon Stadium! Technically, Pokemon Red is the definitive shortest game, at least according to speedrun.com, but I'm much more knowledgeable in Frog. Next big step is who I'm choosing as my starter. Speedrunners almost always go with Squirtle, but I'm gonna go with Bulbasaur instead. See, I gotta remember that I gotta maintain that this is a hardcore Nuzlocke and not just a speedrun. Squirtle is usually better since it can learn many of the game's mandatory HMs, but Bulbasaur I feel is a safer alternative. For one, I gotta catch a ton of Pokemon to mitigate the continual stream of death in this run, meaning HMs are accounted for. But as for Bulbasaur, this Froggy plant alone takes care of the first two gyms, allowing for an easier earlier game, while also learning the moves Sleep Powder and Leech Seed very early, which Sleep Powder is perfect for catching wild Pokemon.
Of course my counter is Caterpie.
And Leech Seed will make switching just a little bit safer. Hashtag A-Gang. After wiping the floor with Brock, thanks Pepe Frog, I gotta go through Mount Moon to get to Misty. But before Mount Moon is the Poké Center that houses this merchant that'll sell us a Magikarp. See, we all know that $500 for a Magikarp is utterly ridiculous. You know it, I know it, the merchant knows it, even the nurse who's letting this man solicit in this government facility knows it. But Gyarados is phenomenal in Nuzlocke, with his ability to intimidate and decent stats. But I didn't even consider getting them until after I had already entered the cave. Oh no. And in speedruns, it's usually best practice to avoid the Poké Center. Best not to trust those eyes, you know. Luckily, I can just get an old rod in Vermilion City and catch one in the wild not too much later. However, it's stuff like this that I have to perceive ahead of time in order to prevent any time loss. And I'm distracted the whole time looking down, following a speedrunner's walkthrough step by step. I'm not very good at speedrunning, so I'm gonna trust this challenge into these guys' sweaty hands. Hashtag A-Gang. Now let's see what my encounter is at the Nugget Bridge. Oh, Abra? Well, that's pretty much a guaranteed loss. Oh well, Sleep Powder go. Oh, it landed. Pokeball go. Oh, yo! Not gonna lie, I'm very hyped to have caught A. A is for Abra. The chances of getting an Abra in this route is 15%. Then catching a Sleepy Abra is about 62% while using a Pokeball at full health, making getting them dang unlikely. Pretty happy with this catch. Even though I won't be able to evolve them to Alakazam, because I'm a lonely man. Grabbing the bike voucher, I skipped just about every trainer in SSN. My team was already properly leveled, so I didn't want to painstakingly defeat each and every person on the cruise. You can enjoy your vacation this time. I did have to go through the puzzle a couple of times. No real strategy here, you just gotta get lucky. And with the use of several ground Pokemon,
Diglett, no!
I've earned my third badge. Next is Dark Cave. And yes, I confused Dark Cave with Rock Tunnel. I mean, it's literally dark, and not at all rocky, by the way. Are they trying to make me mad? Normally, you'd have to catch 10 Pokemon to get the HM Flash from the Professor's aid, and thus you could see in the dark. But you would have to go all the way through Diglett Cave, and that means time loss. And as long as one is a true master of Frog, like the Pokemon champion that I am, I won't be needing it. Due to the level curve being a tad difficult once you defeat Erika, I had to take care of all the mandatory side plots prior to progressing. So this is the perfect time to catch our fourth member of our team. Me on my day off. Though just like me, if you take away my coffee in the morning, he will slaughter my entire team if they're not overtly stronger. Hashtag A-Gang. Despite all my side questing, my team still wasn't level up to the cap for these gyms. But since I felt confident anyway, it helps that Sabrina's physical defense sucks, and Koga's team doesn't believe in magic. In a young girl's heart. Now as I show you the battle with Blaine in the background, let me explain to you the tactics I have for team building in this Nuzlocke. As I progress through the games, I've developed different strategies to build a team. Since this was the first game of the challenge, I had a lot of refining to go. I mainly focus on maintaining a core team that can take on the Elite Four. Saves time, if I'm lucky I don't lose any of them, but more on that later. All of this led to me obtaining my final planned member, Articuno. Yeah, I'm gonna be snatching all the legendary Pokemons I can, even if it destroys the ecosystem. This challenge comes first. Hashtag A-Gang. I plan on using them to decimate Lance's team. And by happenstance, Giovanni too. Stinking, snorting super potions like they're cocaine. Other than Lorelei's bulky team, most of the members were pretty easy. Aside from an unlucky crit from Lance's Aerodactyl.
Hey!
The Gyarados.
No!
Meaning now it's gonna be a 6 versus 5 when I'm fighting against Gary. This sucks. Getting my bearings in order, it's time to face the final obstacle of the first game of this challenge. Oh yeah, I have rare candies. And for some reason, I feel like I should give them to Jolteon. Pidgeot can be one-shotted by Jolteon. Then it was my plan to spam Growth with Venusaur while Rhydon was taking a nap, so as to sweep his team. Though I didn't take into consideration that his Alakazam would basically waste all of this prep, and since this is the final battle, I'm okay with losing Pokemon as long as I have one by the end. So unfortunately, I had to let them faint. Sorry, Pepe Frog. Or A. Thereafter, Jolteon barely tanked their Fire Blast. Also, that's why I needed those rare candies. For real, I did not plan that. Articuno took care of Executor, and due to freezing Gyarados, sorry, a little hacky, yeah, I'll admit, a little hacky, this ensures my victory. Of course, it's trying to learn a move just before finishing the game. And there you have it. 1 down, 8 more to go. What have I done? Anyway, I clocked in at 9 hours and 31 minutes. I'm honestly okay with this time. I did the math, and as long as I can complete each of the game's gyms within 1 hour each, meaning roughly 9 to 10 hours per game, I ought to get done in time. Oh man, I really grew out since yesterday. Among all the generations, Gen 2 is the one I was most looking forward to, as the level curve is well known to be really janky, which goes in my favor since this will lead to an easier endgame. This time around, I do go with the original gold version. I feel like I'm equally competent with both the original and the remakes. I still should have gone with silver since it's faster to obtain the legendary, but I ain't got a copy, so oh well. As for the starter, I'm gonna go with Totodile. I mean, technically my first attempt was with Cyndaquil, but that did not go over well. Here on out, choosing which starter is basically dependent on how many gyms they can take on by themselves. For instance, Totodile is neutral to just about all the gyms. Cyndaquil has ups and downs. We don't talk about Chikorita. And the neutrality of Totodile was ideal for me. Also, did you know that the Bellsprout Tower isn't even a mandatory part of the story? I just like the fact that no matter how many times I played these games, I learned something new that I didn't know before. The first gym is actually a rough one to begin with, since Faulkner has an illegal Pidgeotto with Mudslap of all moves, while all I have are unevolved Pokemon. But then I discovered that Rage just rampages through his entire team. Legit, did not expect that Rage of all moves would help me out with this gym. Even traded Bellsprout for Onix to help me out. Kind of a poor decision in hindsight, but trading is still very interesting. The fact that it's not guaranteed in the Nuzlocke. Just wish you could be a Steelix. For the Bug Gym, since I played this game at night, I was able to get a Hoot for an easy fight with Bugsy, though I immediately lost him last second due to Fury Cutter. Rest in peace, my sweet prince. And taking a note from Bugsy's book, just like Rage with Faulkner, Fury Cutter fainted both Whitney's Clefairy and Miltank. Seriously, what have I been missing out all this time?
Whitney could have been a watch for the past 2 decades of my life. All this time.
Ow. 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 Real quick, I gotta mention team building again. Since I was far less privy to the locations of the Pokemon in this region, I had to be more flexible with who I let to be on the team. Like, I caught a Drowsy on the way to Whitney, which, I'm gonna be real, I absolutely hate this Pokemon. If I could kill it, I would. But dang it, I gotta admit the dude learned super important moves like Psychic and all the punchy TMs. And for the sake of saving time, let's just say that I absolutely decimated all the gyms, and let's also assume I didn't lose any Pokemon, cause keeping track of dead Pokemon in this gen is terrible. I was fine keeping track during the run, but I wasn't able to take the time to write down whenever a Pokemon fainted in the script, since, you know, gotta go fast. And PK Hex just has all the dead and alive Pokemon in the PC together. Now, addressing the Elite Four is summed up in these things. Making sure I caught Ho-Oh. My eyes were glued to my phone as I copy-pasted each step from the VOD, since Burnt Tower is just a maze. I did attempt to have SP on the team, but stinking Eevee thought I was apparently crud. I had the sucker in my party since Gym 4, and even gave him pedicures from the Shady Lady in underground and undisclosed location. Espeon, come back! I thought what we had was special! My roommate has to hear all this, and I don't know how entertained he is. This thing is funny. Instead, I bought an Avra from the Game Corner, got a Lapras deep in Union Cave, and bought as many ice punches from the department store as I possibly can. I'll take all your ice punches, please. For the most part, getting through each of the members was easy, as all I needed was Hypno's diverse moveset and Ho-Oh's unrivaled power, while my reserves of water Pokemon breezed through Lance's 4 times weak to ice moves Dragons. Seriously, why did my Pokemon keep wanting to learn a move just before finishing the game? By the end, the timer rested on 17 hours and 52 minutes, meaning it took me a little bit over 8 hours and 21 minutes to complete this gen. At this rate, this ain't gonna feel like a challenge at all. Might as well relax a bit. I just gotta say, writing a script for 9 total games rather than the usual 1 is really weird for me. Oh, I gotta change my shirt. It doesn't really feel right skipping so much. But talking about all 64 gyms and whatever Gen 7 is would make this video like 2 hours long, and I ain't built like J-Rose. Also, it's funny that it took this long for running to be invented. Running wasn't invented in 2002. People before 2002. Now in this generation, I had a game plan from the get-go. I knew exactly what Pokemon I wanted to have on my team that'll tear down the Elite Four. First off is Blaziken. HE001 is gonna make the early game really difficult. But as long as I can catch one of 2 water Pokemon in the early routes, I should be fine. Oh.
Ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why.
At least they can take advantage of Roxanne's weak special defense. And with Kabuskin, they can mostly handle gyms 2 through 5 without too much of an issue. Blaziken's role is essentially to take down Sydney and Glacia by himself. But if it weren't for that, Zuigo gang all the way. Look at her, she's so cute. You wanna go out, honey? All right, I'll let you out. I guess no more dog for the rest of this generation. Second is Mega Latias. 002 is given to you in why am I saying 00? Whatever. I mean, you get the point what I'm doing here. 002 is given to you in Oras right after Gym 5. Kind of the reason why I chose this game over Sapphire Emerald. That and the experience share is busted. And last is 003 Primal Kyogre. Their role? Utterly destroy the rest of the Elite Four and Steven. And the rest of the team doesn't matter. Now let's do this! Oh. Saves time. Blaziken, if I'm lucky I don't lose any of them, died. Well, I only lost 3 Pokemon in this run, and just one of them had to be Blaziken. Oh. I'm fine. All right, calm down. Your CPC. Challenges are your B word. I might have to reevaluate how I create teams in the future generations, so I don't waste so much time creating a new game plan for the end game. Anyway, I still gotta scrap up a team that can take up what Blaziken left behind. Ultimately, I decided to go with Ninetales as a replacement for Blaziken. What's left is Kyogre, Latias, of course, and Grumpig, Manectric, and Gyarados. It's just funny what Pokemon became a mainstay for each of the generations. Nonetheless, to my slight surprise, Kyogre, and a little bit of Manectric, hard carried this team. Turned out I just needed the God of Water and a little electric puppy to become champion. I mean, technically Ninetales helped with one of the Glaciers, but if it couldn't even help there, what are we even doing here? Ultimately ended on 27 hours and 27 minutes. So it took me roughly 9 hours and 30 minutes, with a nyeh at the beginning. Above the 9-hour benchmark I was hoping for, but we're still on track. Gen 4? Platinum it is! Like I mentioned, I gotta reorient how I'm gonna make my teams. I've gotten lucky so far, but I can't depend on my luck to win. So here's the plan. Get more Pokemon. That sounds so stupid. Ultimately, I went from an average of catching 19 total Pokemon per game from gens 1 through 4 to an average of 27 Pokemon for gens 4 through 9. This way I can at least have some backup to protect my core team. It's safer, but with the cost of time loss. But the moment I get unlucky and lose a core member like Blaziken, the more time I had to devote to training a random Pokemon from square one, essentially weighing the pros and cons of each strat. First off in the team, the starter. Personally, I don't see you going wrong with any of these choices. Empoleon was the OG starter for the speedrunners, though now it's apparently Infernape. But as for me, bro, I gotta go with good old faithful Turtwig. With them, Roark won't be too difficult. Though, Kratos' headbutt do be hurting you. Something I did figure out early on is I have to make sure I catch Pokemon at a certain time of day, specifically between so and so time. This is so as to avoid finding a Kricketot as an encounter. And as much as I love Kricketot, I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud! That was pretty good. But yeah, instead my goal was to obtain a Bidoof in Lake Verity, Starly on Route 1, and doing all this allows me to catch a Shinx on Route 202. Please have Intimidate. Please have Intimidate. Well, they're still really useful for most gyms. So anyway, because of these Pokemon, they made easy gyms 1, 2, oh look, a shiny. No way! And 3. Wait, no. Not gym 3. Not at all. Fontina was definitely the scariest gym of this gen, and not because of the spooky ghosty thingy. With Duskull's Willow Smith, Miss Maggie's this massive special attack, and my bad luck with Confuse Ray. Seriously, why did I get confused so many times in a row? Yeah, I lost Graveler and almost the rest of my team. Look at them! Look at all that red! If I sneeze on them, they die! Literally only defeated Fantina because of Gyarados barely tanked their attack and KO'd Haunter thereafter. But at least I can get an Eevee? Am I balding? If I sneeze on them, they die! It's a good thing that the next few gyms were more manageable due to the diverse set of Pokemon I've caught thus far. Still need to train to make sure I don't lose any of them though. Other than losing Torterra. I'm alright. To counter the Elite Four, I ultimately went with the Togekiss that you get from Cynthia. They can use Wish, you know. Also, I can somehow make them love me. Espeon! I can change! I then added the Luxray from the very beginning, Mamoswine, it didn't do too much, Quagsire, another from the pile of sloppy seconds, the good old dependable legendary, and Gyarados, the poster child of this challenge. With this team and lots of strategizing, I was somehow able to slam through all 4 members of the league without a single loss. Even Bertha. But now it's time for the main event. Why do I hear boss music? You know why, CPC. You know why. First things first, and with Spiritom's lack of weakness in this gen, the best strat I came up with was a Toxic Stall. And due to a crit, I even bypassed Cynthia's healing. Woot! With Cynthia's moveset by my side, I knew the most likely move they'd make would be Shockwave. Manipulating the battling AI in these games is pertinent for Nuzlocke. What I didn't figure, however, is just how strong her Togekiss would be, and how useless Quagsire was. I mean, what is with this disparity? Seeing this difference, I just accepted that my Pokemon would die, but then I could make Togekiss sleep in the meantime with Yawn. Barely tanking an Aura Sphere, Mamoswine was able to bury them in snow. Giratina was able to feint the Lucario from the Earthquake they learned from a TM, and now Garchomp has entered the chat. Pooping in my pants simulator initiated. Honestly, I just had to waste Quagsire so that I can get a safe switch in to Gyarados for a choice of effective Ice Fang. With all this switching happening, my team wasn't looking too good. I'm getting Fontina flashbacks. Oh, they missed. Ooh, and a crit. Knowing Melodic couldn't do a dang thing to Gyarados, I used this time to spam Dragon Dance in the hopes of sweeping the rest of her team. And thanks to her using Mirror Coat in vain, I was able to lock in the win. Without that miss, coupled with the crit, and Mamoswine barely surviving, I don't think I would have won. Oh. Multivitamin is coming back up. But nonetheless, my time came up to 40 hours and 23 minutes. Oh, I spent a little more time than I should have with this game. Well, it was a tougher gen anyway. I'm only 23 minutes over my goal, so as long as I do better the next couple of generations, we should be fine. Hold on. I mean, yeah, I guess. All right, I'll see you there. I'll see you soon. Well, we're gonna go to my dad's house to record Gen 5, I guess. Okay, so I had to drive 2 hours to go to my dad's house while he goes to surgery. Gotta make sure he's okay. But the challenge must continue. Let's do Gen 5. At my dad's house. Not gonna lie, I was a little shook from the battle with Cynthia, and this gen ain't no slouch either. Once again, I had to create a game plan to take on the Elite Four, and I think I discovered a major flaw in the Poke League. It's an interesting concept with what they did here. See, this is the first generation where you can take on any of the members in any order, meaning all of the strongest Pokemon is at the same level with only 4 members each. Being a Poke League with a type triad of Fighting, Dark, and Psychic, and Ghost, I guess, because they basic. It means that they all have a common weakness: Dark, Fighting, and Psychic. And basing a team based off of these 3 types isn't gonna be that difficult. And by happenstance, one of the starters has one of these typings. And they fainted. At the bug gym? It's so weird that I was so afraid of the second gym because of Lenora's Watchhog having to retaliate, but it turned out missing a rollout was more likely to lose you a starter. Seriously, can't keep a starter to save my life! Oh. More bad news. And I wiped out at the rival 2. Gotta keep going. Anyway, on my second attempt, it wasn't even the rival that made me begin to sweat. It was the 4th gym. I swear, it's never really the final few gyms that are the most difficult. It's always like the 3rd or 4th for some reason. But for real, at least this Electric Centric gym has 2 Amogus that aren't affected by ground type moves. And I happen to not have a rock type Pokemon anymore. It's a good thing I had the TM for Rock Tomb, but I didn't realize using a TM in this game only gives you 5 PP? What? You've got to be kidding me! At the very least, I still had some heavy hitters in the back. Skipping through the rest of the gyms, since I do be doing that a lot in this video, I saved the world for the 5th time, and I have arrived at the Elite Four. Like I mentioned before, the only Pokemon that I need to utterly destroy the Elite Four are 2 Darks, 2 Fightings, and 2 Pokemon that can handle Marshall's team. Now let's see what I have in the PC. Yeesh! That's it? Luckily, I was able to catch Scrafty and Crocodile before Elisa. Alright, so that's 2 Darks, a Fighting, and I got a Psychic for Marshall, and that's about it. So unfortunately, I had to settle with a Whimsicott, Stoutland, and Golurk. I'm honestly feeling a little doubtful I could beat these guys, but even if I lose a Pokemon, I can almost immediately replace them with a Legendary at the end fight. Of course I lose a Pokemon immediately on the first Elite Four! Ugh. Even with this annoying loss, I was able to still breeze through Grimsley and Caitlyn, and to my surprise, Whimsicott's Cotton Guard smoked Marshall, which is kind of ironic because Marshall, you know. In facing N, normally you could just replace your entire team prior to fighting him, but I didn't want to take the time to train a bunch of random Pokemon, so hopefully what I got is enough. First off, I'm playing it safe. I spent a little bit of time switching between Crocodile and another Pokemon to bottom out Zekron's physical attack, and by doing this, I can then safely take it out. His Vanillix gave Reshiram a Brain Freeze, and his Caracosa KO'd Whimsicott in one hit. You kidding me? At this point, I was terrified of facing Getsits afterward. It's never a good situation in Nuzlocke to have a 6v5, but I still gotta finish off N here and now, so hopefully no more losses? Thankfully, with Crafty's Moxie ability, I was able to tear through the rest of his team. He even missed 2 times in a row at one point. Man, I am not looking forward to this. Despite being poisoned, Crunch lowering his Pokemon's defense made it so that I could at least have a double KO. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. But now I have no idea what Pokemon is coming up. After thinking it over, I chose Crocodile since their ability will lower their attack if they're a physical attacker. And I could just switch if whatever comes out is too much from Alligator. Psst, it's a crocodile. It's literally in its name. It seemed my thinking was correct with Bouffalant coming out, but I completely overestimated just how much damage Foul Play would have dealt to them. In hindsight, it kind of makes sense since I lowered their attack. I was still able to maintain enough health on them to use Sand Attack on Hydreigon, which I am gonna need as Scrafty to survive so I can initiate their Moxie. Good thing Focus Blast misses with or without Sand Attacks. Took out the Electros, and with a crit, I very likely barely took out his bulky Seismitoad, and subsequently Bisharp. Good thing they're 4 times weak to fighting moves. If it wasn't for those 2 misses from N and that lucky crit to Seismitoad, I likely would have failed the challenge here. And now to slowly turn my head to look at the timer. Wait, how did I spend 16 hours on this game? But hey, my dad's back from surgery, and I can continue this challenge back at home. Alright, I'm back from my dad's house. He's fine. Pokemon X and Y. Since this was a gen I had the least amount of experience in, that in the park in downtown is hella crazy. I thought I was gonna struggle the most in this game. Turned out it's more like Gen 7, but more of that in a second. For real though, with the ease of access to static and gift Pokemon, a strong box art legendary, and free Mega Pokemon out the wazoo, there's tons going in my favor. In fact, it is these gift Pokemon that is my strategy for this gen. Clearly, you get the starter. My choice? Furry Bait. Delphox. By the way, just because I got a Fire Setter, don't underestimate the Bug Gym. For one, they got Bubble on Surskit, and Infestation can really cut it close. Next gift is the Kanto starters. Yoink! Chose Bulbasaur again, mainly for the same reasons as in Gen 1. Leech Seed comes in clutch. Speaking of old team members, Snorlax is technically a static Pokemon, and this Snorlax is much easier to catch. Level 15 and with much weaker moves. By the way, it is absolutely crazy that you can get a Steelix by trading this insane fella a Love Disc, which you can conveniently catch with an Old Rod, which is given to you like 2 feet away from the trading fella. Makes the rock climbing gym pretty easy. You know, I'm more mad at myself than I am with Game Freak for making this pun, because I just realized why there's rock climbing in this gym. Also, Reflection Cave has Wobbuffet with ability Shadow Tag. So unless you want to lose a Pokemon on your team, for the love that's all that's Nuzlocke, buy Repels. The next gift Pokemon are Mega Lucario and Lapras literally minutes afterward. In fact, everything kind of goes smoothly for a while because of all these powerful Pokemon. Roughly around the time prior to the 7th gym, I had accumulated 19 total Pokemon with very few casualties. But then things went downhill real fast. In the Ice Cave, I lost both Lucario and Lapras to this random trainer's throw. I kinda threw those Pokemon away. The dude was just so tanky, and by hapstance, so strong. You could ask why I was using Pokemon that were weak to fighting moves, but most of my team was already weak to fighting moves as is, and I didn't notice until it was too late. I was essentially forced to win with Perish Song. And it gets worse. When trying to stop Team Bad Guy today, for whatever reason this time, I lost my strongest Pokemon Snorlax to the scientist Malamar's superpower. I had forgotten that their ability inverses their stat nerfs. You know, hey, not a big deal. I mean, let's focus on the positive. While training, I was able to find literally 3, and I'm not joking about 3, shinies in the same cave I lost Lucario and Lapras. A Jinx, Vanillite, and Bergmite. I mean, that's cool! Within 6 games, I was able to find 5 shinies. Plus, after defeating Aldous Nephew, I can even get a Xerneas, one of the strongest Pokemon ever concocted. So now let's face the Elite Four. Just like before, we're continuing the trend of having only 4 Pokemon per member. You'd think this would make them easier, but for some reason I had just as much trouble with Gens 5 and 6 Pokeleagues as the other gens with 5-member teams. I mean, I lost Crocodile to Aegislash. Aegislash! And while that bothered me a bit, gonna make a meme of me of not being able to not lose a Pokemon before the champion. Other than Diance's Mega Gardevoir fainting 3 Pokemon in a row, the shiny Vanillix because they missed Mirror Shot, Jolteon missing Toxic, and getting a crit at Mega Venusaur. Literally everything else turned out well. Now, what was my time? Oh. 15 hours. You know, it's at least better than Gen 5. And as long as I don't go over 10 hours with the next couple of games, we should still be within range. My sister's calling. Seriously, I gotta focus on this challenge. Boy, I just can't wait until I take on the 7th region. Oh thank goodness. Might have checked my laptop for that one. I'm on a time crunch, you know? And in this generation, you get 2 legendary Pokemon. More than Lunala, if you find 50 green lumps, probably exudes radiation, but pros and cons. You can also obtain a Zygarde 50%. So if you happen to find any glowing ooze on the ground, let me know. Now, as you may know, this game goes counter to previous gens. Instead of gyms, we're given mostly totem trials and island kahunas that are definitely not gym leaders.
Ye know too much.
The totem trials though, since they consist of a 2-on-1 fight, with the totem Pokemon equipped with the stat buff, it's not very conducive to a hardcore Nuzlocke. This is some terrifying stuff. And what's worse is the level capping. The capping is what usually makes things harder, but the levels in between each totem and kahuna are so close. At the very least, I was able to find out that you can use tons of stat nerfs toward the totem Pokemon, and you shouldn't have too much trouble completing the trials. Though, be careful after fainting them, because you still gotta deal with your assistant. For instance, the Gengar at the Mimikyu trial fainted one of my Pokemon. Oh, we don't have the footage. Well dang. Well, here's a glitch to make you forget what just happened. Interestingly, the game glitched, and now the Team Bad Guys City is suddenly gone. Guess I get to skip this part of the game. Lastly, the fear of Z moves is null. Type null. Thank you.
Why are you so weird?
Simply using Protect or being a flying type in the case of the Ground Kahuna can eliminate their one-time use of Z power. So once I got the free Aerodactyl, my trusty Gyarados, again, the Box Art Legendary, and a couple randos, we're ready to face the Poke League for the 7th time. For the most part, none of the members were very difficult. I, of course, did lose my daily obligated loss for the Elite Four. Now before facing the champion, I found something out. Lunalight is completely useless! Guess what their typing is? Ghost, Psychic. And you know it's 4 times strong against that specific typing? Dark and Ghost! If it was just a Ghost Elite member, this wouldn't have been an issue whatsoever. But nearly everybody has a random Dark type move in their moveset as well. My Box Art Legendary was a waste of space. Really should have done this in Pokemon Sun. Would have been so much easier with a Solgaleo. But nonetheless, I still have Zygarde, 4 other Pokemon, and a Meat Shield. Apparently. So we should be able to go for the Champion, Professor, and possibly Luchador, Kukui. For my primary strategy, I kind of wanted to try out spamming Sword Stance and see where it would go. A self-sacrificing kind of strategy since I'm already working from behind. Swolled out of his mind, Pangirl was able to KO Lycanroc, though this did mean that I would have to deal with Stealth Rock for the rest of the match. Not a huge deal. They, for some reason, sent out Alolan Ninetales next, which I ain't complaining. If you want to lose another Pokemon for basically free, by all means. Pangirl even took off half of Burberry's HP before falling on his own sword. When I sent out Aerodactyl, I guess I didn't have the best moveset to address their rock typing, so I was able to deal a bunch of damage before sending out my best Pokemon, Zygarde, to finish off the job, and subsequently Burberry, then Decidueye thereafter. And last up is Snorlax. At 2 Snorlax. Once I used Toxic, the game was won. Now let's do the math. How long did it take me to do this generation? Over 21 hours. How did I do this game in 21 hours?
Of course you messed up the challenge.
Everyone's going to judge you.
What's this
too much
work?
I'm just far away from you. I'm not strong.
Why am I really hate myself. Hate myself.
I'll be honest, it feels really good to have shaved. At this point of the challenge, I became overwhelmed by the pressures of real life and doing this challenge. The reason why I wanted to do this challenge was to go back, to re-experience all the games again, but for fun. Then I experienced one of the worst periods of my life. As you are made aware, my father underwent surgery, and it turned out to be gangrene. I had to accept the reality that I may lose my dad at a young age. While all this was happening, there was a resentment in my home. Resentment between me and my immediate family. And honestly, I thought I was gonna lose my home because of it. My car broke down, my dog might have to go to surgery too, and I gained a lot of weight to compensate for all the stress. And dealing with all these events made it difficult to complete this challenge. I wanted it to stop. Let's just say I had some unaliving thoughts. Kind of the reason why it took me so long to make this video. That, and it's also 40 minutes long. I was forced to trust God, and while my faith isn't always the strongest, my father ended up living, even healthier than I've seen him in years. I didn't lose my home, my car was fixed pretty quickly, and my dog's fine now, and I'm beginning to take care of myself again. I know all of this is kind of unorthodox for a Pokemon video, but I like to express exactly what I was experiencing through a challenge, and all this happened. In spite of everything that I had to go through this season, I hope that it benefits you at least a little bit. If you're going through something really bad right now, even if it's the worst thing you've ever experienced, it will be okay. Okay, I still got 2 more generations to go. This time my goal is to make this fun again like it was originally supposed to be. For Pokemon Sword, the starter you choose kind of dictates what Leon's team is going to look like. They always end up having the remaining starter after Hop's in my choice. But he will also always have a Charizard too. So if I choose Grookey, for instance, Hop will pick Sobble, then because of this, Leon will have 2 fire Pokemon on his final team. Easier to take him on. Also this switch
and not emulator,
uses the keyboard to type out names. So everybody's gonna be called X. Aside from Leon, I'm really only afraid of two gyms. The fire one with Kabu and the ground dragon rock. Bro, pick a type! Since Kabu has a fully evolved team with decent status conditions, all the while it's unlikely the player will have a fully evolved team themselves, makes Kabu pretty rough for an early gym. And since Raihan's battle is a double battle, it means you're twice as likely to lose a Pokemon each turn. If Raihan's AI chooses the same Pokemon twice, if you're not prepared, you may lose a team member. Every other gym doesn't really stack up to these two. I mean, Oppo literally boosts your stats if you pretend to say that she looks 16, and she's clearly in her 20s, easily.
Oh, you're so funny!
Thankfully, Gen 8's fancy new gaming mechanic of Gigantamaxing is ripe for abuse. Things like switching a Pokemon that's immune to their attack, using Protect, or even Gigantifying myself wastes the brief 3 turns the opponent's allowed to be bigly. Furthermore, the Poke League, or I guess Hop the Goth Chick Fairy Dude, oh, and there's like 3 gym leaders? Why can't I figure out what to call this part of the game? Well, anyway, because you can heal and change your teams in between each match, this was by far the easiest Poke League of the series. Or whatever you call it. So the only things left that worry me are President Rose, since I only have the one fighting type and no fire types to take him on. Thankfully, Bulk Up saved the day and I was able to sweep him with the one fighting type and the Eternatus fight. If I can beat this sucker, I am guaranteed to have him against Leon. And I took all preparations in fighting this dude because he is really tough. Bro, really thought you could catch a legendary Pokemon with one Pokeball. Man, I usually bring the whole Pokemon before attempting a legendary. My goal initially was to get him napping. I can't evolve this Galarian Slowpoke since you need to trade him to do so. Cause again, I'm a lonely man. Once asleep, I went ham on screens before confusing them and future sighting them to death. And with them by my side, I slowly lowered Leon's first Pokemon's attack until they couldn't harm a fly, then pumped my End Times Dragon with so many stat buffs, and with the use of Shell Bell to heal the remaining damage, I put Leon's entire team to shame. If I'm honest, however, this was more of an impromptu strategy. I was originally gonna level up my entire team to the cap, but I decided to take a risk and it paid off. Even though time at this point doesn't exactly matter, and I got a whole game to go. Ending with a time of 9 hours and 55 minutes. Oh wait, this is 9 hours and 55 minutes over 100 hours. So yeah, I have officially failed my goal. But you know what? Let's have fun now. The 9th and final gen, Violet and Scarlet. Or what I like to call them, Sci-Fi.
You stay, get a job, you hippie.
The new gaming mechanic in this game is, by a lot, the most difficult to take advantage of. For one, unlike in Gen 6, where the player is usually the only one with a Mega Pokemon, you may have battles where the opponent is the only one allowed to use Terrestrialization. For second, the Terra typings aren't always consistent. This meant in a Nuzlocke where I don't really get to choose what Pokemon I get, I have even less in my control. For third, I can't spell Terrestrialization to save my life, and it's annoying writing the script because of it. No. Try again. Maybe? What's worse, the level cap difference between the 8th gym and the Elite Four is huge. It's an Elite Four this time, right? Oh good. The level difference goes from a 10 level difference between Giovanni and Lance in Gen 1, 7 in Gen 2, 9, 7, 6, 10, 7. Then finally in this generation, it's an astounding 13 levels between Grisha and Hassel. Kinda a hassle, am I right? That's just so much time devoted to leveling up. And I don't even get a legendary this time around. Oh no. I chose the wrong shirt. I might have to, this is day 7. I swear, I don't wear the same shirt 2 days in a row. I at least have a decent set of Pokemon that should be able to handle these guys. Also, you can, once again, change our teams in between each elite member. By the champion, however, after training roughly 20 Pokemon, this Elite Four is one of the tougher ones, I can't underestimate them. It turned out that I only needed a total of 2 Pokemon for Gita, a low kicks the one-shot to Espathra, King Gambit, heal off of Go-Goat after missing the Axe Kick from before, 2-well Velusa, and lastly taking out half of Avalug's HP before finally biting the dust. What a monster! With Magnezone finishing off what low kicks left behind. If I knew fighting Gita would be this easy, I wouldn't have taken the time to train all of those Pokemon. Speaking of time, I sadly finished off with a time of 125 hours, 59 minutes, and 28 seconds. 0.29 to be precise. Knowing that this challenge wasn't a guarantee, I still wanted to climb this massive hill. And for now, I don't think it's possible to hardcore Nuzlocke every single Pokemon game in 1 week. More like 10 days. Don't get me wrong, I don't regret doing this challenge. Through it, it made me a stronger person. But otherwise, keep being awesome. Now I gotta go back to getting healthy.
Your son, you're not my father. We're just 2 grown men saying goodbye. There's no need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine.
I'm trying to make you proud. So Dad, won't you just close your eyes? Please don't be afraid. It's my turn. Chase monsters away.